Hello again, everybody, and welcome to this session where we're going to introduce you to the Ovum-Amdocs AI Maturity Assessment Model. I'm Eden Zoller, Principal Analyst with Ovum, and from the Amdocs team, we have Matthew Dowling, who looks after Western Europe within Amdocs Global Marketing. Now, the model is an interactive tool that helps service providers gauge their AI strengths and weaknesses. It shows you the gaps you need to address. It provides you with a roadmap to strengthen your position in the AI domain. Now, the model's relevant to all service providers, but today we're sort of taking a bit of a CSP lens. So there'll be lots of examples from the telco domain. Before we actually move into the model, we thought it might be useful just to sort of step back and look at the big picture. There's no doubt that AI can have a positive impact on pretty much all aspects of a service provider's business, from network optimization, cybersecurity, fraud management, customer support, sales and marketing, and ultimately service innovation. AI is both an input and an output. But let's go a little bit deeper into AI impacts in sales and marketing.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So CSPs that fail to integrate AI into their core sales and marketing activities are obviously going to struggle to engage their customer on the optimal level. We work with many operators in this area, and I want to give a couple of examples of those that have used AI to improve their performance. So Entel from Chile is the leading mobile operator in that country with 40% mobile market share. But they were struggling with a lot of KPIs such as revenue generation, churn reduction, among other things, and general offer relevance. Likewise, Vodafone Ireland actually employs a similar market position, and they had intelligence embedded across a range of areas, but the problem for them was it wasn't covered properly across all channels, so their mobile app maybe wasn't as synced up as the rest of their channels. So working with them, we leveraged our Engage product, which uses big data and analytics to deliver a real-time continuous contextual engagement, which helped their results. So in the case of Entel, they got the 2% revenue lift, and they saw a 20% reduction in churn, which was a massive result for them. And on Vodafone, they doubled their app downloads and delivered a 15% net response rate on app re-engagement, which means they literally brought thousands of customers back into their app because they were using the right data intelligently and informing the decisions to get the right customers back in to engage with their offers. So this is just one area, sales and marketing. We obviously don't have time to go into all, but we will touch on them as we move forward.
So that's an example of some of the positive impacts that AI can bring to the CSP business. But from our conversations with service providers, it became pretty clear that a lot of service providers are struggling to navigate AI. Some don't even know where to begin. And even for those that are more advanced in the AI journey, they need to know what to do next, how to up their game. And it's against this background that we developed the AI Maturity Assessment tool. The model evaluates a service provider's AI capabilities across 5 core pillars: strategy, organization, data, technology, and operations. And within each of these pillars, there's a detailed set of criteria, associated questions, and a range of responses. And the responses capture different levels of AI ability and positioning. And those responses, in turn, map onto a scoring system that determines the service provider's level of AI maturity. And I'll just touch on what some of these core pillars mean. So the strategy pillar, as you'd expect, looks at an AI roadmap and capabilities, the strategy. The organizational pillar looks at your ability to support AI at a structural and cultural level. The data pillar looks at the state and availability of your data assets and your analytics capability. The tech pillar looks at the different AI technologies being leveraged and how a service provider has gone about implementing AI solutions. And in operations, we look at how AI is being deployed across a range of different scenarios: customer support, sales and marketing, at the network level, fraud management, and so on. So it's pretty comprehensive. But let's move a little bit deeper into the model and take a couple of the actual questions.
Okay, so this is actually a picture of the model, and on this screen we have the question which relates to data, so the data pillar. So data is obviously massively important in AI because taking multiple sources of data, disseminating them and using them properly is a major path to a major obstacle in many CSPs' path to AI maturity. So the questions we ask here are things like, what sort of access do you have for first-party data? To what extent do you have real-time data available? And is there a single unified customer profile available that informs everything? That last question is really, really important. We recently worked with a tier 1 operator from Europe who was actually merging 2 companies together because they wanted to become a true multi-play comms provider. But it was really difficult because they were trying to take all these databases together from different initiatives and activities, and they didn't have time for a huge transformation project. So basically, they worked with us and took our data hub platform to attain a whole host of new capabilities, but most importantly, they could now take the two entities' data, they could pull multiple sources of it and see the customer as one profile. They could see demographics, they could see personality, they could see historic data, but even more importantly, they could now see what this customer was eligible for in the future based on predefined rules that were built into the system. And the results were really, really positive. So at a high level, really off the bat, what they saw was a big jump in telesales numbers, record telesales numbers. They saw 8.5% online sales conversion, and they got a 12 points TMPS boost. So basically, this is just one area which reinforces why data is so important and why we ask these questions. Okay? So the next pillar is operations, which Eden spoke about. So operations, and more specifically speaking, care is absolutely crucial. When we speak to analysts, when we speak to Ovum, when we speak to customers, what we hear is that care is so important because the race in telco especially to find new customers is all but over. Many agents have been left to work with really complex CRM interfaces, which is causing them confusion, which is being passed on to the customer. And finally, the service levels being provided by non-telco digital players is so good that customer expectations have correctly risen. So this is a challenge for the telco industry specifically. So when we work together with partners, we try to get them to think about the core areas that we provide, which help them to become truly intelligent in care. First 2 areas relate to reducing calls, and the second 2 areas relate to increasing efficiency on calls. So basically, really quickly, because I can't go into the detail of all this, proactive care is actually taking a wide array of customer data in real time and analyzing it to identify the trends that will ultimately lead to that customer calling care, and then proactively preventing that. Self-service is as it says. This is basically guiding customers through the self-serve journey using real-time data to totally personalize their experience and their outcome. And then on care operations and agent assistance, care operations is effectively to what extent are the customers or the CSPs intelligent, how much insight and real-time data do they have. And agent assistance is how are they arming their agents with that information to be able to A, understand everything about the customer in real time, and B, get the best outcome and make sure that the customer call as short as possible and there's no repeat call, because in this industry we've seen repeat call averages of up to 24%, which probably just isn't good enough. So that's just a couple of the questions. We can't go through them all, but there's a lot of questions in the model, and we'll show more on that in a moment.
A service provider's evaluation score across the questions, and we've just shared a couple of with them, maps onto 4 AI maturity segments. The AI novice, that's the most basic, and as the name suggests, a service provider in this position is really just still in assessment mode. It hasn't moved forward. The next segment is the AI-ready service provider. And basically, this is a service provider that's ready to go. They're pretty prepared in terms of strategy, organizational setup, and data availability to move forward. They've probably been trialing AI technologies. They've probably been looking at operational use cases, possibly with some soft launches. The next segment, the next phase in the AI maturity development phase, is the AI proficient service provider. And this guy's made solid progress in the AI journey, and it's got a reasonable degree of practical experience with AI. A service provider in this position is likely to have a centralized platform for AI and well-developed AI partnerships. It's probably implemented AI for internal use cases, but when it comes to external use cases, it's largely focused on B2C scenarios and more straightforward case studies. It won't have done anything in terms of AI in the B2B context. And the final and most advanced service provider is the AI advanced service provider, as the name suggests. And this guy has got a good level of AI expertise. They've got a proven track record in AI use cases, and they'll have implemented AI internally, B2B, B2C. For these service providers, AI drives digital transformation and shapes new services. Now, I've summarized these segments at a very high level, but clearly there's a lot more behind what we've shared today, but it'll give you a taster.
Okay, so just one important point before we look at the scoring in the model to point out is that your actual score overall, whether you're novice, ready, proficient, or advanced, can be determined by multiple different scores. So it's just important to point that out. So you don't have to be a novice in everything to be a novice. You don't have to be advanced in everything to be advanced. There's a combination of all of your answers come together, and that determines where you sit. Okay, so I'm going to quickly jump onto the actual screen. This is just what the screen looks like when your score is received. So in this instance, we have a CSP who's AI ready. One of the great things about the model is that you actually get to see your score, but not only that, there's benchmarking in place. So when we devised the model, we talked to about 25 CSPs initially. They took the assessment, and it provided some relativity for us to actually be able to sense check where we sit within the model. So if you look at this chart here, this is the graphic from the actual assessment. The pink bar at the back is the very best score that was given from anyone who's taken the test, the assessment. The bar in the middle is the average scores that were given, and the bar at the front, the yellow bar, is the score that you gave, or the person who took this assessment actually gave. We can see from this that this operator is overall AI ready. They're proficient at an organization level, but they're overall AI ready. So it's just a really useful tool. We encourage all of you or anybody who can to take the assessment. We'll share more on that later, because the more data we get in there, the more robust and insightful it becomes. So as I said, this is an AI-ready customer, but how do you move within phases?
I mean, understanding where you are in the AI journey is very helpful. It helps surface your kind of AI strengths and weaknesses and the gaps that you need to address. But ultimately, service providers need to know how to move forward. So with this in mind, we've developed some sort of next step recommendations to kickstart the process. As you can see here, there are a lot of next steps, and I can't go through them all. So what I'll do is just touch on how this could pan out for a service provider with an AI-ready score on the organizational pillar. The AI-ready service provider really needs to get wider buy-in for AI, not just a few departmental heads, but all senior executives. You know, one thing that's very clear about AI, that it needs long-term commitment and support at the highest level. The AI-ready CSP, there's probably limited understanding of AI in the wider organization, and this does need to be addressed. What you don't want is employers to become resistant to AI. You need them to understand the benefits that AI can bring to the business and themselves. The AI-ready service provider, it's probably got good skills when it comes to data science, but it doesn't have any specific AI expertise. And this is a skills gap that really does need to be actioned as a matter of urgency. And you really do need to move quickly. Your problem is that you're not the only ones looking for the best brains in the business. You're going to be competing against other service providers and also the big consumer tech giants. Now, these are very high-level recommendations, and obviously in a workshop environment, we could do something a lot more tailored. But hopefully this is a little bit of food for thought. And what we wanted to do to sort of kind of wrap up the session is look a little bit and think a little bit about what an advanced service provider look like. What are the attributes of an AI advanced CSP?
Sure. Okay. So within the white paper, there is details on all of the maturity phases in terms of what they should look like, but let's look at advanced. So from a strategy perspective, there's dedicated budget in place, and AI is driving the digital transformation, and there's a lot of metrics in place for AI-specific use cases. From an organization perspective, AI is championed right up to board level. It's perceived really well throughout the organization, and it's understood really well throughout the organization. From a data perspective, there's multiple sources of data available for use cases, and a lot of that is in real time or near to real time, and data science is absolutely critical as well. From a technology perspective, a lot of the AI technologies are adopted for use cases, and there's well-established partnerships with AI expert industry partners. And finally, from an operations perspective, AI is already being used to power a range of internal processes. And for an advanced operator, there's also a lot of external B2C use cases and even potentially some B2B use cases on the go. Okay? So that just about wraps up what we wanted to talk to you about. On the screen here, we have just a couple of links as to where you can go and take the assessment, how you can take the assessment, where you can go and read the white paper, which gives a lot more detail. And also, we would encourage you to do that, and we would encourage you to come and talk to us during the break, ask any questions, or in the future. It's been an absolute pleasure to come and talk to you, and thank you very much.
Actually, can I just quickly add something? I mean, we've wrapped up by sharing what an AI advanced service provider looks like. Please don't feel depressed if you're not there. What we found in our conversations and with the benchmarking, and I might even ask you to do a show of hands, but I think it's true to say that most, CSPs, they're really not AI advanced. Maybe some operators like, dare I say it, Telefonica and Orange are getting there. But in our experience, most CSPs are sort of AI ready, AI proficient. I don't know if this is something that chimes with you. But just to say, if you're not at that AI advanced level, you will be. And hopefully this tool will help you on your journey. So thank you. I think we've got any questions from the floor? No? Okay. Right, then we can wrap
nice and easy.
Good.
Thank you.